So some of the influences can filter through from the soul, but we often associate the person who we see as being that person, and we think that they're just going to reincarnate into many different lives, many different bodies and circumstances and situations and be the same person. But that's not the case. The person is formed within this lifetime, but lots of their traits will filter through from previous lifetimes. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. So to fully understand this situation, you have to have a bit of a grasp of karma and what karma is and how karma operates. And also you need to have a bit of an understanding as to what makes up a person. So starting with karma, karma is a universal law, and often people think that karma is just what you put out, you receive. To some degree that is true, but there are some intricacies to karma that need to be understood. So the first intricacy is that everything that you put out with intent will come back. So if you do something without the intent of it either being good or bad, it's kind of neutralized. There was no intent from you to have an outcome from it. So if you, for example, trod on a snail accidentally as you're walking to work, that's not going to incur any negative karma because you didn't walk by it with the intent of killing it. However, if you were walking along and you saw a snail, stamped on it, killed it, that's going to incur some level of karma because your intent was totally different. So the pivotal point of karma is
pivot! Pivot! Okay, I don't think it's going to pivot anymore.
Your intent. I actually did a full video on this, so if you want the full details, I'll put the video up here for you. Whatever we do in terms of our karma has to be returned to us. And if there isn't time within our current lifetime, or if the circumstances aren't right, then the karma in a way gets rolled over and it's always with us. So we have to pay that karma off at some stage or another, whether it's positive karma or negative karma. All of our actions that we put out, we eventually get back. Now, I can hear people saying, you know, well, if this is a good person, why are they having bad things, you know, occur to them? Because, you know, they're good people. They would never have harmed someone in a previous life. And what often people misunderstand is that we're taking them as the person that they are now, and we're taking them for their identity as we see them now. But that identity really is totally temporary. That identity has been formed in this lifetime based on their surroundings, their family, their experiences, their friends, their influences. That all creates their identity, their mental setup in this lifetime. And there will be some influences from previous lifetimes that filter through from the soul, but they can be corrected, they can be changed, they can be kind of altered to some degree, depending on their current environment that they reincarnate into. So essentially what I'm saying is that we take people as the personality, the person that we see in front of us today, but that is a temporary personality really. It doesn't really have any existence beyond this lifetime, beyond now. But if they were to reincarnate, they might reincarnate into a man, they might reincarnate into a totally different culture with totally different family, totally different surroundings, and create a totally different personality based on those influences. So having said that, you may be looking at a person and saying, well, what a beautiful person, how could they possibly have something negative happen to them? But they might have incarnated, and probably did, into a totally different situation, a totally different time in history, totally different culture, and had totally different influences and experiences, and for whatever reason have done something negative, more than likely to someone else in another lifetime. And this isn't a time or a sort of a situation where we should point fingers and say, oh, well, you must have been horrible in a previous lifetime. You know, we've got to take things as they are. We don't know what someone has done, and the likelihood is that we have all done awful things in previous lives, because the potential is that we've been here for many, many lifetimes, and that would span us back hundreds, if not thousands of years backwards. And we all know what history is like and what history tells us as human beings what we were like, and the likelihood is we have done awful things through those lifetimes. Chances are we have. And so when we have things happen in this lifetime, that is because at some stage in a different experience, in a different environment, we have done negative things to others with intent. So we have to learn to accept what happens to us and just take it as it comes without kind of resisting it, without saying, oh, I must have been an awful person. That doesn't benefit us. Adding that worry, adding that thought process, that does not benefit us whatsoever. All we can really do is focus on our present moment and make sure that the person we are now is as good as it can be. there is also the notion that the closer we get to the divine, the more we aspire to do good, the more we work towards understanding our reality and kind of get closer to our divine nature, we're making good progress in our life as spiritual beings. The more we do that, the more that the peripheral karma will be taken away from us, because the divine wants us to get close. And so if we're carrying lots of peripheral karma that's not really going to help us as such, it's just going to pull us back again, that will be eased off of us, especially if you've got a close connection to a avatar like Jesus or Lord Krishna, or just you focus on God perhaps. You will be helped, you will be guided. So it's worth bearing that in mind. But if you have any big karma, major karma, that will have to be paid off. But you know, often good comes out of hardship, as we know. So many times we'll go through a hard situation, but actually we become stronger people, we become more aligned, we focus on the things that are important. So often these things are given to us at an appropriate time where we are going to actually gain from it in the long run. So we pay off, we have to suffer a little bit, and our suffering is often dependent on ourselves in a way. Like we can approach suffering in different ways and suffer more or less depending on our mental outlook and things like that. So to some degree we can override our suffering, or we can lessen it by ourselves. Often, as I say, suffering will come and negative things will come, but actually it's a stepping stone into a better version of ourselves. So these things are given in a way with a blessing of helping us in the long run. So ultimately the reason why good people have bad things happen is because at some stage they will have done a negative thing to someone else, and that may have been 100 lifetimes ago when they were totally different people in a very, you know, lowered consciousness time in history, who knows. But ultimately everything we have happen to us is based on our own actions at some stage in history. And so it's hard to take, and it doesn't feel fair, it doesn't feel right, especially when you see kids suffering. But ultimately it's part of the process, it's part of the journey. It doesn't mean they're horrible people, and it's very hard to take, but it is the truth, unfortunately, of why these things happen. The other thing I wanted to make clear that might help you to understand all of this is that we are not the mind and body that we associate ourselves as being. We are the spirit within that. We are the spirit that inhabits this body, and that spirit is infinite. That spirit is the same spirit that keeps inhabiting every body that we incarnate into, and we have lost touch with this aspect of ourselves. We very much associate ourselves as being the mind and the body, and that this physical reality is our only reality, and this isn't the truth. We are infinite divine beings, and we are working our way back to our true nature, and we're having a human experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. So if you do have any questions, if you'd like me to answer any questions and make a video about questions that you may have with regards to these kind of topics and spiritual topics, then please do drop them in the comments, and if there are any that stand out and I get a good feeling from, I will make a video and hopefully help you with that. But also I teach meditation. I run a 4-week course. I'll put my website below. As and when that comes up, keep an eye on the website, and I'll be updating it with any dates as to when I'll be teaching next. Please like and subscribe the video, and hopefully see you on the next one.